Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Tuesday topic. Today's topic is Navigating Between Two Worlds, Challenges Facing International Students and How to Support Them, brought to us by the CNHP Board of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So without further ado, let me now throw it over to Zainab During, who is our host, student host for today's event. Zainab, take it away.
Thank you, Diane. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you all here today. My name is Zainab. I'm a Drexel alum. I actually recently graduated back in 2022 last year from the College of Nursing Health Professions, of course, with a master's degree in quality, safety, and risk management. I am so excited to be here today, Dr. Kwok and Anyi, really to talk about some things and issues that are affecting international students that I feel like many people may not know about. I'm so privileged to be on the board. When I joined Drexel back in 2020, that's when I joined the board, and it's my last year, so I'm kind of sad. It's like my last program, but it's definitely not a goodbye because I will definitely be coming back and joining some of the upcoming events. Again, who we are, I am Zainab. I am a CNHP alumni, class of 2022. And we have Dr. Kwok from the Graduate College, and then Anyi from ISSS, which is the International Student Scholar Services. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I came to the US in 2008. Through a diversity immigrant visa lottery that I won. I was in California and I had to wait for a year to become a California resident to go to school in order to avoid paying the non-resident tuition fee. And then I went to community college, started in 2010, and then I transferred to a four-year college in 2013. And I received my bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of California, Berkeley. And then that's when I kind of started working in healthcare. And then I was thinking, okay, what do I do next? And I found CNHP, which is where I got my master's degree in quality, safety, and risk management, and recently graduated in 2022. So I've been working in healthcare for the last 7 years. So, throughout my time, whether it's in school or professional career, it's been a lot of challenges that I face and still continue to face, being that I'm a US foreign, or being that English is not my first language. Hopefully, after today's discussion, you will have some key takeaways to take with you. All right, and I will turn it over to Dr. Kwok.
Thank you so much, Zainab. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Kwok. I am 6'1". My weight is to be announced, and I love to eat. If you put a plate of seafood in front of me, I will tell you all the secrets about Drexel. But in all honesty, I'm really a proud member from the Graduate College. They gave me 2 fancy titles, the Director for Academic Administration and the Director for Multicultural and Equity Affairs. I'm also teaching part-time at the Westfall College of Media, Arts and Design. I strongly believe that if you have both administrative and teaching experiences, you can understand the university better. So again, I'm really delighted to be part of today's presentation. I want to thank Dr. Veronica Carey, Ms. Zainab, and Ms. Anyi for allowing me to work with you to talk about a topic that's really close to my vital organ. And I also want to give a shout out to Darren as well as Priyanka for organizing all the behind the scenes stuff in preparation for this event. So this is truly an amazing platform for us to talk about an ongoing issue here in higher education. I hope you have a glass of ice water or milk with you, because this is a hot topic now in many colleges and schools. So sit back, fasten your seatbelt, and enjoy the ride. If you don't get on the ride, you will not experience the Drexel adventure. Next slide, please. So what do we know about international students at Drexel? Now, before diving into the core of the presentation, I have some trivia questions for you. There are no right or wrong answers. So we just want to gauge your understanding of our international student population at Drexel. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and do your best to answer them. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. Take a wild guess, and you can type in the answer in the chat box if you like, and then I'll reveal the answer later in the presentation. So here are my questions for you. Now, if you have to take an educated guess, how many international grad students were enrolled in the past fall quarter of academic year 22-23? That's question number one. Similarly, how many international undergrad students were enrolled in the fall quarter of academic year 22-23? Again, you're welcome to share the answers in a chat box. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. And again, the second question is, our international undergrad and graduate students are represented from all over the world. Now, again, if you have to make an educated guess, how many different countries are represented at the undergraduate level and graduate level? So you can separate the two populations here. And then the third question is, what are the top 3 countries with the most international students at the undergraduate and graduate level? And finally, my last question is, how much revenue is generated from international students in the United States back in 2018? Again, I'll reveal the answer momentarily. Let me see if there are any answers in the chat. Okay, no. So I don't want to keep you in suspense anymore. Oh, there we go. These are the answers. Great. Thank you so much for your participation. I appreciate you. Next slide, please. Now, I don't want to keep you in suspense anymore, so I'll share the answer with you. The purpose of this informal assessment is to raise awareness of what's happening at Drexel. To ensure everyone is on the same page, I cannot assume that your knowledge about international students will be the same as mine. However, we do have to pay special attention to this population and help them succeed like our domestic counterparts. After all, I am all about equal opportunities. Many higher education institutions want to recruit international students for a variety of reasons. They enhance the intellectual and cultural environment for Drexel and also maintain our R1 research status. In addition, they really bring global perspective and diverse interactions at Drexel. And the true opportunity is really for our domestic students to learn from and with our international students. Not only do international students bring in different social perspectives, but they varied educational background add more perspectives in the classroom. So in the past fall term, there were approximately 1,293 undergraduate students and about 928 graduate international students enrolled at Drexel. Again, this number does not include semester students from the Klein School of Law or College of Medicine. And these schools operate differently. At the undergraduate level, 100 countries are represented at the undergraduate level, and we have students from Albania to Zimbabwe. At the graduate level, we have 90 countries are represented, and we have students from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. Literally, we are like Amazon, where we have students from country A to Z. So that's pretty impressive, right? Now, in terms of the top 3 countries, we have more students from India, China, and Iran at the graduate level. And at the undergraduate level, the top 3 countries are India, Vietnam, and China. And not to mention, international students have generated about $45 billion to the United States economy back in 2018. And this number continues to grow every year. So in addition, international students are not eligible for federal aid, which means they're paying cash. So I'm seeing dollar signs everywhere, like Uncle Scrooge from DuckTales. Next slide, please. So what exactly is the problem here? For the most part, diversity is viewed as a positive movement in higher education. Unfortunately, research shows that many higher educational institutions are not adequately prepared to deal with the large wave of international students. And just looking at the literature, scholars, practitioners, and researchers said that we need to pay attention in areas ranging from pedagogical concerns to diversity and to social satisfaction. Even though we have orientation program in place at Drexel, we cannot resolve everything within an hour or two. It's important to provide international students with continuous resource to assist them and help them flourish in a new country. If not, they may experience acculturative stress, which may impact their academic performance, emotional, and social well-being. Now, again, if we don't provide them with enough resources, some international students may feel alienated from campus life and develop serious physiological and psychological effects. And so a sense of belonging at school means feeling a sense of acceptance, respect, inclusion, and support in a learning environment. And we can tell if someone is engaged, right? We feel a sense of energy and they're more likely to succeed academically. On the other hand, those who don't feel that sense of belonging, they often struggle to devote their cognitive ability to their academic and may also impact their emotional well-being. So in this slide, I have highlighted a pyramid featuring Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And according to Maslow, he stated that needs at the lower levels must be met before needs on the higher level can be achieved. And this theory can be put forth into action. And so, for example, I want you to imagine a scenario for me. So imagine you are studying in your bedroom for your midterm exam on a fateful day in May. And all of a sudden, you smell smoke coming into your room. Instead of continuing your studying, right, your exam, which is important, you also have to worry about your safety. So you got up, you walked around and tried to locate the origin of that smell. And according to Maslow, you're probably not going to continue to study until you find out what that smell is coming from, because you're concerned about your safety, and safety should be your number one priority. So what he's saying is that needs on the lower levels must be met before anyone can achieve higher order of thinking. And this concept applies to international students in many ways. If we don't have the basic or fundamental needs, they will never able to perform well academically. So when I'm talking about the basic needs, I'm talking about water, shelter, clothes, safety, social aspects like friendship, belonging, and esteem. Next slide, please. So what can we do to help? I guess one way you can help them is to build interpersonal relationship through authentic compliments, praises, and connections. For example, if you see someone does a great job, give them flowers. And this is an expression to acknowledge someone is doing a fantastic job. If you are a teaching assistant and you have a workstation in your lab, you can actually feature some of their work, right? And decorate your physical space, including the work of your students. You can put up their artwork, flags, pictures from your international travel. Now, if you look behind me, a student actually gave me a drawing of Harry Potter before leaving Drexel. And I love it so much that I laminated his artwork. And so you'll be surprised the kind of conversation you will have with your students. So again, this is a great way to initiate a conversation with international students or anyone in general. Now, the second thing that we should, take into consideration is that when international students come into a new country, they are experiencing a different culture. The food is different. The people are different. So to make this presentation more authentic, I will share my immigration story with you. I came to this country in the early 90s when I was 10 years old, and I didn't speak a word of English. And never in a million years that I thought I would be giving a presentation today and talking to you about my life story. But we don't have time for all the nitty-gritty details, so I'll tell you the core information here about my life. I went through a series of cultural shocks when I landed in New York City, New York, back in the 90s. Before I came to America, I never met anyone outside of my ethnicity. I came from a small country called Macau, where one can literally travel around the peninsula by car in 1 hour. And I was truly fascinated when I first saw my first Hispanic and African-American / Black people in this country. I grew up with people like me, so I was really intrigued and fascinated by people outside of my race. As a result, it took me to a whole new world like Aladdin. I honestly thought I was on a magic carpet ride. One thing I learned over the years is that never call a person exotic. While it may seem like a compliment, this can be harmful when you use certain word choices. You can make them feel alienated and not be part of a community. I know because people used to call me Taz Exotic. Netflix better be calling me soon and create a show for me or with me. Because do I have a tail growing out of my behind? Do I belong at the zoo because I'm exotic? So please be considerate of your word choice when conversing with international students. Now, second, I used to live in a country with tropical weather, for the first 10 years of my life. With global warming, I would not be surprised if you start seeing snow at a tropical country like Macau. So when I first exited out of the United airplane back in the 90s, I never thought I would survive the freezing weather. And I'm not being a drama queen here. I thought my new name was going to be Frosty the Snowman. The Arctic cold blew across my face, and it was brutally cold. And I even documented these experiences in postal mail to my cousins in Macau. Yes, I was writing letters to them, not emails to my cousins, because back in the days, email was not a thing in the early 90s, in my household at least. Even if it was available, we would not be able to afford it. So we were dirt poor, but our hearts are made with a heart of gold. So it was all good. So my cousins replied to my postal mail and said, "Boy, you sure talk about the cold weather a lot." And I think it has such a detrimental effect on me that that's all I could talk about at that time. So I was surprised that I didn't become a weather reporter. So third, I had to quickly assimilate and force myself to immerse in the American culture. And I want you to think about a beautiful plant. What would happen if you remove the plant from the soil? It will probably shock the plant because it's no longer in its natural habitat, right? If you don't quickly do something about it, the plant will continue to be shocked, in distress, and may even impact the health of that plan. So this concept is very similar when international students are coming to the United States. They are uprooted from their home country, and they need to learn about the triple socialization process here in America. They have to learn about the culture in the United States, the surrounding, like where to eat, where to do laundry, and how to take public transportation. And they also have to acclimate to the academic environment at Drexel. So most people have this mindset that you should just become an American because you live in the United States. And again, this type of thinking, again, can be very dangerous. I was uprooted and transported to another country that was unfamiliar territory for me. I had to quickly assimilate because I did not have any support or trusted individuals who I can talk to about my experiences. In the process, I lost a part of my cultural identity and blended with the mainstream culture. As I was growing up, I didn't give much thought about my Chinese culture. And that may not seem like a big deal, but this could have a detrimental effect with the relationship of your family members when you don't value the same traditions as them. So this was a challenge for me, living in two different worlds, which is the title of this presentation. So what are the resources? Next slide, please. So what are the resources that are available for international students? So for newly admitted students, the International Graduate Student Association, in conjunction with the Graduate College, ISSS, Steinbrück Career Development Center, the Health Insurance Office, Drexel Central, organizes a pre-arrival orientation program for them and educate them about the culture at Drexel and the things to do in the surrounding area. Again, this is directly related to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, giving students the basic things that they can advance into higher order of thinking. The second thing you can do is, work with your student government body. So again, for example, new and current students can reach out to student organizations for support. And I know these student organizations can partner with newly admitted students with an experience or current students from Drexel for general guidance and support. And again, I can only speak about the graduate level, that the International Graduate Student Association is regarded as one of the most active organizations on campus. And throughout the academic year, they organize a range of events, like a shopping trip for international students to go back for back to school shopping, hosting a Thanksgiving dinner for them for those who will not be able to go home to see their family, and exposing them to cultural outlets like amusement parks and allowing them to interact in a natural environment. We also have an international student arrival guide, which is written by the international students and designed for newly admitted students at the university. And this guide features places to eat, places to visit, and offers tips and strategies for newcomers. And we also recently created a cultural guide for our academic advisors and program managers. And in this guide, we share the best practices on how to work with international students. And finally, we've been working around the clock to organize a university-wide event called Festival of Nations. And this event is actually on Friday on Drexel campus. So in my opinion, this is one of the most exciting events on campus. This is a celebration of cultural and tradition featuring traditional dances, food, and games. And the Festival of Nations has inspired people throughout the region to discover more about our world and embrace the rich cultural diversity brought to us by immigrants from around the globe. So to conclude my part of the presentations, I just want to say that the new wave of international students will continue to set sail on American shores. And you can play a role by acting as the lighthouse to guide these students safely to our coast. You can help them by assisting them to navigate through this intricate educational journey. Of course, institutional commitment is a must for international students to maximize their experience while transitioning successfully into their academic study. So in the effort to help American universities and colleges better serve international students, we first need to acknowledge and appreciate the diverse group of international students on campus by advocating for them. Even with the strong oceanic tides, we can work together to help them with this journey. So continue to fasten your seatbelt as we transition to Anyi's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tad. I mean, that was so inspiring. I think you just sum it up for all international students, and thank you for sharing your own personal story. Like we discussed before, I also went through, a similar situation. I didn't go to high school here, so coming here and going to college, I don't necessarily know, the American history. So when I'm in college, I'm expected to just act like I know, but I don't know. And sometimes it's very hard to say you don't know. It's very hard to raise your hand and ask questions because really you don't even know what they're talking about. So for the most of my time here, and I feel like up to now, I still feel isolated. And, like the title, navigating between two worlds, like where do we really belong? Am I very Sierra enough? Am I American enough? So it's like, I'm just trying to live a normal life, but it's very hard because when you speak, that's the first thing people hear, your accents, right? So that alone is like, oh, you don't fit in. And no matter how hard you try, I mean, your accent is just your accent. That's not gonna go away. But how do you see past my accent? How do you see past me, right? So, all right. I am very excited to turn it over to Anyi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, especially Dr. Dustin, Dr. Carrie, Dr. Kwok, and Zainab. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here to present ISSS as a teamwork. And a little bit about myself. I came to California in 2012 as an immigrant, just like Zainab. And then in 2016, I come to Pennsylvania. I moved here with my boyfriend, now husband. So we settled down in Philadelphia. It's my new home. It's my home away from home now. And I have so many stories about my culture shock. I can spend like days just venting, but because of we are on a webinar and I only have like 20 minutes, I want to share with you one story, just one. So I was born in the 1990s. If you know what I mean, it means that I grew up watching American Gossip Girl. I thought every American dresses up daily with beautiful makeup, jewelry, high heel shoes, dress, beautiful things. But then when I was in California the day, I saw everyone is in hoodie or sweatshirt, t-shirt, and pants. Nobody really dress up. And their makeup is great, but not those Gossip Girl makeups. So I was like, what's going on? Am I coming to a fake America? What's this? What's all this? So I was like, never mind. The lesson that I learned is this. I don't judge people by their appearance, even though they don't look like Gossip Girl. It does not mean they are bad or they're uneducated or they're not good enough. It's just a way of living in the United States, like just like casually or more comfortable rather than try to be super attractive. And if you can see me, I am in a sweatshirt. I want to be comfortable when I'm working from home. So this is about me. Okay. And like Zainab, I come here as an immigrant. So I started from community college in California. So in my first year, like I didn't want to just doing nothing, I guess. So I paid thousands of dollars for my out-of-state tuition just to study in a community college. Then the second year, I could be like in-state resident. Then I pay like cheaper tuition. So which is I appreciate that I got the cheaper rate to pay for my education. Then later, I earned my master's degree from University of California, Riverside, and I was a Master of Arts in Education. So I could have stayed and become a PhD student and do research, but I decided to do something for international students and new immigrants. So that brought me to this job to process immigration documents for F1 and J1 international students, and to advise international students, and to provide more like cultural and interpersonal support on a college campus. And this is about me. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, definition of international students. Just so you know, starting from this slide, I'm talking about real important things. That is not about me. That is about the F1 and J1 visa rules. Okay, what is international student? When we say international students, we mean non-United States citizens who study at Drexel students, and they are sponsored by Drexel for one or two types of non-immigrant visa, F1 or J1. So what does that mean? For instance, Zainab and I, if we apply to schools tomorrow, we can be like self-identify as international. Or we can be like, oh, we're not American. I'm from XYZ country. I'm from XYZ country. But the university wouldn't consider Zainab and myself, I mean, international, because we don't need F1 and J1 sponsorship. So I could walk around with my strong accent, and everyone would assume that I'm not from here, which is true. But I wouldn't be considered international student on a college campus because I don't have an F1 or J1 visa. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, what is F1 visa? F1 visa is the most popular and most common visa for Drexel students, both undergrad and graduate level. So they come to the United States as a full-time students in a degree granting program or a language training program. For instance, bachelor, master, and doctorate degree. And our ELC students, they fit into our F1 visa category. They use the F1 visa and they have the F1 status to study in the United States to the time that they complete their program of study. Next slide, please. J1 visa. So what is J1 visa? So J1, the nature of J1 visa is cultural exchange. So usually exchange students use J1 visa. Like every year, Drexel University have a group of UK, Australian, Singaporean, and Korean students, because Drexel and universities over there have agreements, like students can like participate in the exchange program. So we send students there and they send students to us, and those students, they use J1 visa because they have this institution financial support, and they don't pay tuition, or their government sponsors them to come here to study with a J1 visa. And at Drexel, we had like very few degree seeking students, but that is not common. The more common J1 student category is those exchange students. You may see them, especially in the fourth quarter, because they come here to just enjoy their life and study here with us, and they will leave usually around December. Next slide, please. So, very important thing, what is visa and status? So, excuse me, visa is a stamp or sticker that places in the passport, and it's only for the individual who are trying to enter the United States. And the visa sticker can only be issued by the U.S. consulate or U.S. U.S. consulate or U.S. embassy. What is status? Status refers to the right and responsibilities of a foreign individual who enters the United States at the border, and they were set they're going to have a status called I-94. I-94 says the person's status. It can be F1, it can be H1B, it can be B1, B2 for tourists. With that, it means this person has been admitted to the United States, and there are like rights and responsibilities for this individual to follow. I know that in this Zoom call, not everyone is from the international background, so I have something to share with you. So this is a this is a visa that I had many years ago. So this is what visa look like. If you are not from another country, you will never have this. Like this is visa, United States of America, and it says your category and your name and your information is all on this visa. So and here, you see the stamp? You see the stamp? That is something that when you're at the border, like we're foreign nationals, we get admitted at the border, and then the Customs Border Protection give us a stamp on the passport to prove that, hey, this person is come here, is here, coming to the United States as a F1, as a B1, B2, as H1, L1, whatever. So this person is here. And because of the visa and the nature of visa and the status, the actual expired visa and expired status have very different meanings. Sorry, give me one second. Expired visa. Students with expired visa can stay and study in the United States as long as they have valid F1 status. What does that mean? I need to give you an example about our Russian, Iranian, and Cambodian students. Usually in the three countries, students only get 3-month visa. Does it mean that they have to leave the United States and stop their study at Drexel after 3 months and go home and renew visa and come back? No, too much work. They can stay here after the 3 months as long as they are maintaining F1 status, which means they have a valid I-20 to prove that they are here in a 2-year program, 4-year program, or 5-year program. And as long as they are making a full-time enrollment and full-time status, they can be here. They don't have to leave the United States just because their visa sticker expires. However, for status, usually for most international students, they have I-20. Status means from the start date to the end date of their I-20. I think we have some international students in the Zoom call. Take a look at your I-20. Your status basically means from the day back to maybe September 2019, September 2020 to June 2020, June 17, 2023. It's your legal status to stay and study at Drexel University. If you cannot graduate by June 17, then you have to do something. We'll talk about this later. Okay, next slide, please. So we're talking about F1, J1 status, how to maintain status. So to maintain full-time, lawful F1, J1 status, international students must enroll full-time every term, unless they receive permission from ISSS to enroll part-time. There are 3 or 4 part-time reasons: international break term, academic difficulty, medical reasons, and completion of studies. Because of the time limit, I'm not going to tell you the details of the 4 reasons. You can visit our website for more information. The more important thing for all of you here is a full-time enrollment. Undergraduate students must register at least 12 credits. And graduate level students means master and doctorate. They must register at least 9 credits to maintain full-time status. So what happens if they don't? Some international students may already know they got a very scary email from ISSS, like we yelling at them through email saying, hey, you need full-time status. Yes, that's how we help international students to remind them that you really need a full-time status. Otherwise, you are violating what your status being an F1 student. Then there will be issues like consequences, like either we terminate the students or students have to add a class later to meet the full-time requirements. That's it. So next slide, please. So extending, yes, thank you. So extend F1 and J1 status. For some reason, if students cannot graduate before the end date on their I-20, which is called program end date, they must extend the I-20. Why? Because I-20 shows the student status. Let's say this quarter, as an example, June 17, 2023 is the end date this quarter. If the students cannot graduate by June 17, they must extend the I-20 to the end of summer, to the end of fall, or even to the end of next academic year. So the I-20 must cover the student program of study so they can legally stay and study here. One important thing for everyone here is that your faculty or staff or student, this is very important when you interact with students. The I-20 must be extended before the expiration date, the program end date. For instance, on June 18, the day after June 17, we no longer have access to extend the student I-20. So if a student cannot finish this quarter, please extend now, rather than wait until June 15 or 16 and realize, I can't graduate. What can I do? Extend it right now so we can process student request. Next thing, change of major. It's very common that students, for instance, got admitted to, for instance, finance, and then later they decide to change to business analytics, or later they want to study computer science. It's very common. But when that happens, make sure that ISSS is informed so we can update the students I-20. What does that mean? Why is it important? Because the major on the I-20 is kind of related to the student employment in the future. Because in the future, student on their OPT, their job must be related to their major. I will talk more about this in the next slide. Next slide, please. Employment. So F1 and J1 international students can work on campus. It's very common, to me, it's very common that our students work for the residence hall, working for the dining hall, and work at the gym, or work for their academic department, like their professors. So they work on campus up to 20 hours per week when they have classes, or they can be 40 hours during the break time, like spring break or summer winter breaks. And practical training for F1 students. There are 3 types of practical training: CPT, pre-completion OPT, and post-completion OPT. So CPT means, at Drexel, it means co-op for undergraduate students. It can be for other things, internship, APE, practicum, clinical, however you call it. The nature of CPT means that the student must earn academic credits. Let's say we have students in Westfall program. They have 3 credits in X, Y, and Z class, because the class requires the student to work elsewhere outside of a campus to earn the experience. We at ISSS will give the student CPT work authorization so they can legally work in a company to gain the experience that their program requires. Then next thing, pre-completion OPT. What does that mean? Pre-completion means pre-graduation, before graduation. We have a lot of students that they say, oh, we don't care if we earn academic credits or not. We don't need this credits on my transcript. I just want to have work experience before my graduation. I don't care if I don't have co-op. I don't care if I don't have internship. I want work. I want money. Okay, great. Then in that case, we tell the student, try to apply for pre-completion OPT, optional practical training, OPT. So with that, student can work outside of our campus, 20 hours when they have classes. So a student usually have 12 months of OPT time. If they use 2 months before their graduation, they have 10 months left for the post-completion OPT. Make sense? Okay, post-completion OPT. Most of the time, students save their OPT time after graduation, which is a post-completion OPT. Usually, students have 12 months of OPT to work in the United States. And some STEM major students have the 24-month STEM extension, like overall is 3 years of OPT to work in the United States. That is the reason why the major on the I-20 is so important, because during the OPT time, we need to know if the student is doing the job that's related to their major, and if the student is eligible for STEM extension. And another category, a subcategory under F1 enrollment is economic hardship. Usually it means that the student all of a sudden like lost their fundings, like there's some family issues or there's some natural disasters happening in their home country, and they all of a sudden don't have money to support themselves. So they apply for this economic hardship with ISSS and with USCIS to get a work authorization in order to work. Next one is J1 academic training. J1 academic training is like kind of covers both F1 student CPT and OPT, but J1 itself is more like cultural exchange. So J1 students may use this academic training authorization to work during their program or after their program. Next slide, please. Okay, international travel. So international students, no, and not just international students, all non-American, non-US citizens, we always need a valid passport at least 6 months into the future. So let's say if you are here and realize your passport is about to expire, what should we do? We have to contact the embassy of our country and to tell them, hey, I gotta renew my passport because it's required by the government. Please renew it. Then I think from what my students told me is that they mailed their current passport to the embassy, and the embassy will send the passport back to them in their address. Then they have a new passport, so they can show that, hey, I'm here. This is my right passport. Okay. Especially is super, super important when the foreign national international student travel to the United States, because the passport should always be valid at least 6 months into the future. Unexpired. The second thing is unexpired visa sticker. As I mentioned, visa sticker expiration date doesn't really matter when the student is inside the United States and studying. But when the student travel outside and try to enter the United States, visa sticker is very important because it's just like a plane ticket. It must be valid when they enter the United States. If a student travel abroad to Europe, to Asia, to South America, to South Africa, and realize, why? What's going on? I didn't realize my F1 visa sticker expired. What can they do? They should contact the U.S. consulate. Schedule appointment with the U.S. consulate in their home country, renew the visa sticker, and come back to the United States. So be careful when you travel abroad, travel outside of the United States. Make sure that your F1 visa sticker is not expired. Otherwise, you may have to travel around the world just to renew your F1 visa sticker to come back. The third thing is travel signature. On page 2 of everyone's I-20, there's a travel signature. We sign it for students. For J1 student, there's it's called DS 2019. We sign it on page 1 for the student. And there are 2 more documents that we recommend students to have. That is not required, but just recommended in case students got questions. They are proof of enrollment and proof of financial fundings. So when students get questions at the border, they can say, hey, my parents giving me money to study at Drexel. Or this is my enrollment. I have 12 credits. I have 16 credits this term, so I'm coming back to study. That's it. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, another part of my passion is supporting international students. In addition to our daily advising, immigration advising, we offer events. So our events covers American holidays, cultural English language, mental health, and even politics topics. So international students understand what's going on here and why it's something important or relevant to their life and their adjustment in the United States. Next slide, please. Okay, where we can find those events? All our events are on Dragon Link. Just search ISSS on Drexel, and you can see all events. Or you can follow us on Drexel ISSS on Instagram. We offer more than just events on Instagram. We offer anything like reminders. Like today, I just repost OPT reminder. And tomorrow I will repost travel signature reminder. And every now and then we repost the program and a reminder to all international students to make sure that your I-20 doesn't expire, or you extend it, or you graduate, you pick a lane. The next thing that we do is ISS newsletter. We send a newsletter every 2-3 months to remind students of important information that they should know, some immigration updates and or events, or there's anything that we think students should know, maybe they already forget, like scams, or students receive scams. I don't know why, like those crazy phone calls asking for money. We want students to know that, no, it's not true. Delete and report to the police. Okay, next slide. Oh, sorry. This is Zainab's slide. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Anyi. Thank you so much for sharing those resources. So like she mentioned earlier, because I didn't require F1 J1 visa, so I wasn't technically considered an international student. So I did not get an opportunity to get all those great resources. But I'm so glad you're here to share those resources for future students who may need them. I think I love the slide about like everything happening, like loving West Philadelphia, born and raised, a quick guide to living and loving in Philly, love across culture. I think you have a lot of events and resources that hopefully will be very beneficial to students. And then just like as a key takeaways, as you've heard on this call, international students go through so much more that you see in the classroom. They're dealing with a lot in their mind and at home, including social and cultural differences, social isolation, cultural shock, maybe difference in classroom, and also language barriers. Sometimes, like, I am from an English-speaking country, but English is not my first or second language. I grew up speaking Creole and then my dad's dialect. So you may write in English, but you really, probably don't know how to pronounce certain words. And also American English is different from other English, right? So keep all of those in mind. And also, like, there's a lot of discrimination that they go through, racial and ethnic prejudice, being from, Asian countries, African countries. Sometimes people just have those implicit biases against international students. Financial difficulties, like Anyi mentioned, difficulty, in jobs and loan, most jobs require a green card or US citizenship. So automatically you're being disqualified by not having those because you're an international student. And also a lot of mental health challenges. You have a lot of thinking going through your head and you don't know who to contact or even who to trust to even share those concerns or those thoughts in your head. And also visa issues, like Anyi was talking about the visa expiration thing, the status. So imagine you have a class or you have an exam and you have to do with your visa, like which one is more priority, like the class or trying to make sure you can even stay in the country legally? So there's just a lot of challenges that they go through besides just coming to school and trying to learn. There is definitely a lack of adequate resources to support international students, but I think that some ways that students, faculties, and even staff can support is by having office hours. I know I benefited so much from office hours, whether it's an on-site class or online. Doing my program here at Drexel, even though it was online, but I have a lot of resources, also like one-on-one. So I feel like I know all of my professors, they all know me because I bug them so much. And I think I see Professor Farrell here. Thank you so much, one of my professors from CNHP, for always having opening doors. I always have a question after every week because I feel like I just need more attention. I just need more time. You need to explain to me exactly what you just said, like in a way that I can understand. So just having that extended office hours for students. Just sometimes a lot of professors sometimes use vocabularies and high terminology just because it is how it's written in the books. But sometimes some of us don't understand those. So try to like break it down a little bit if you can, so that way we can understand what you're saying. Because most likely we're very shy to raise our hand and ask you to break it down, right? Also, like sharing campus resources. If you see a student in your class that you notice, foreign, just try to share those resources. Like, and you have all those in the past. I would have loved to know of some of those events and resources just to feel included, because I feel like even when Anyi and Taz and I connected, I just felt automatic bond with them because we all share a similar story. Sometimes just having someone that is going through a similar situation or that went through it before, it's like a safe space that you can just be yourself versus trying to fit in with everyone else. And also encouraging students to speak up. If you have a student in class that you see they're not speaking up, they're not asking questions, like try to ask them, like, you have any questions? Maybe that will make them trust you a little bit and try to open up to you. And also try to make an effort to understand student accents. A lot of times people say, oh, their accent is so hard to understand, I can't understand them. Well, have you even tried to, first of all, when you speak to them, like try to speak a little bit slower, and when they speak to you, try to focus on them, try to maybe read their lips, like just because they're really trying. I know I'm trying every day to speak, as clearly as I can, but I know sometimes, the accent is still there. So just try to meet me halfway a little bit. I hope this was helpful to some of you all. Thank you so much for having us. We have a couple minutes for any questions for anyone. But really, thank you to CNHP and Dine and Dr. Kai and the entire board, really, for the opportunity to be here.
Well, thank you so much for a great presentation. That was really fantastic. There is one question in the chat. I think it's probably aimed at Anyi from, I can pronounce your last name, Prasad. And the question is, can you please tell me more about F1 financial work? Thanks in advance. So
Okay.
I'm not sure what that.
I think you're asking about financial hardship, because I saw this question pop up during the employment section. Okay, here's what you can do. I am not able to give like immigration advising at this moment. Please either shoot us as an email or schedule an appointment with us or come to our virtual advising hours, so you can ask questions about financial hardship and explore like what other like employment authorization that you can take advantage of, you can use in order to earn money.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Carey, do you have anything you want to add?
How did you know, Darren? How did you know?
I saw you turn your camera on.
So hello to everybody. In case I'm meeting someone for the first time, I'm Dr. Carey. I'm the Assistant Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and proud to say, after the evidence of this current Tuesday topic, the chair of the board of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and Zainab is on that board as a student member, alumni student member. So yes, a graduate student member. And one of the things is that, first of all, we have our May campaign coming up in this month. So you'll see later on this month, we'll be sharing what seats are left in case you're interested in being a part of the board. But each board member, it's a working board, and each member determines what topic they want to address. This was an absolutely phenomenal presentation today. The reason why I say it was phenomenal is because it had so many different facets to it, and each one of you handles your sections perfectly, because we want to educate the viewers, and I learned so much. First of all, I got one question right, Dr. Kwok. One question I got right earlier, so I was close to 2,000, so I was happy about that, yay. But I learned so much more during the actual session, and I agree with the individuals who were chiming in saying, this is great. Where's the link going to be placed? Because I'm going to have to go back over and learn. I sat in on one of your study practice sessions for today, and I learned about the I learned that there was an F1 and a J1 visa, but I learned about what they were really phenomenally today. So just thank you for making it such a broad yet understandable. You contextualized everything, and I know our viewers benefited immensely. So thank you to all three of you. And Zainab, thank you for being a part of the board.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kai.
All right. We are at the top of the hour, 1 o'clock. You guys filled every moment of the time. That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on Tuesday Topics.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.